Pete Banaszak, welcome into the game, sir. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing fine, Brian, and thanks for having me. And I'm looking forward to honoring Kenny this weekend. Like you mentioned, he was a close friend of mine. I mean, closer than close. We roomed together for 12 years in training camp, year in and year out, and we hoisted a few beers together, and we got our heads knocked together. So, but I'm looking forward to this weekend.
No doubt. Now, will you be in Canton, Ohio, or are you heading up?
Yeah, I'll be leaving this afternoon to get up there and join some of the rest of the Raider players there to honor Kenny, and I'm looking forward to it.
You know, and just talking with so many former players, it's obviously, here in Tuscaloosa, we talk a lot of college football, but everybody I've called has been willing to come on and share thoughts with about Kenny Stabler. It seems like it's going to be a reunion. It's somewhere Kenny's going to be looking down and going, all my buddies are having a good time watching the enshrinement ceremony into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's got to be a unique feeling to see all you guys get together.
Yeah, really. Kenny will be watching us, and I can just about picture what he would be saying. Go for it, guys. You only go once around this big world. He says, let's go for it. Like 4th and 1, go for it.
No doubt. Pete Banaszak right now, Oakland Raider great inside the game as we're talking about Kenny Stabler. I know this is going to be, it sounds like a simple question, but how do you remember Kenny Stabler?
Well, I in a lot of different ways, personally, I remember him very, very much knowing what bugged him and what excited him and what made him feel good and what didn't. And, of course, we played in a lot of football games together and had a lot of different things happen to us, a lot of them good, more good than bad, but we always remained friends, close friends. And like I said, I told you before, I roomed with Kenny for 12 years in training camp. He was 1 year behind me, and I remember, the ups and downs he had getting established with the Raiders. I saw him actually leave one time training camp and said, I don't think I can play this game and I don't want it. But he came back, and God bless him, he stuck it out, and then he learned a lot from a lot of guys we had on our team, like especially George Bland. I can always remember him sitting on one knee along the sideline with George, and George was the greatest competitor I ever played with, and I could see how everything that George exemplified, Kenny was learning, and Kenny was a true warrior. I mean, he's the greatest clutch quarterback. When all the chips were on the table and you had to make a play, Kenny was there and made it. He was the greatest clutch player I've ever been around.
I go back, and I'd love to be able to go back to training camp there and talk about, just from a player perspective, is that where team trust and team chemistry is formed when you're going through those hot days of training camp?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you go through so much mentally and physically, and I can remember Kenny and I and Fred Bolitnikoff sitting there, and we'd say, well, let's cut the team. And a lot of times we'd be cutting ourselves. Every year we'd talk about who's going to make the team and who isn't. And we were always saying, well, geez, I don't know, I didn't have a good year last year. Or they got this young kid behind me. And I remember Kenny, always worrying about, and myself, as a matter of fact. And, you became bonded together. You just, because you lived through the ups and the downs. And football's a tough game. It's a tough game mentally as it is physically. But there was nobody tougher than Kenny when you had to have it. I mean, he just seemed like he would step forward. And we'd line up behind him, and we sure as hell won a hell of a lot more than we ever got beat.
No doubt. If I could walk you back to Super Bowl 11, you had a very important role in that game. You scored 2 touchdowns, Super Bowl champ. You beat Minnesota. Help us relive that Super Bowl 11 game.
Well, I think that was the epitome of, it was like taking a big sigh of relief after we won that game because we were so close so many a times. I remember my second year in the pros, we got to the Super Bowl and against the Green Bay Packers and got our butts beat. And Bart Starr, another Alabama quarterback, beat us there. And I tell you, the Packers perhaps were the best team I ever played against because we were a young team then. Kenny wasn't playing. He got drafted that year. And we had Darryl LaMonica as a quarterback, and we were just outmanned, outfought, outmanned, and outplayed. And Green Bay was a great team. I mean, they ran the same plays to the right, 10 to the right, and the same 10 plays to the left. And they were telling us where they were going to go, and we couldn't stop them. It was just, they just executed like they were supposed to. And I thought we'd get back to the Super Bowl 2, 3, 4 more times, but we went through games like the Immaculate Reception, the Holy, not the Holy Roller, because it was a different game, but the Rob Whittle fumble in Denver. We came so close so many times, and when we got to this Super Bowl 11, we weren't going to be denied. I knew, Madden told us on the Friday before the game, we were practicing, and Kenny, I think, hit 25 for 25, and we were so sharp in our pregame practice that he said, hell, let's go in. He said, if we play like this tomorrow, he says, no question, we'll blow them off the field, and we did. And Kenny had a great game, and Kenny had a lot of great games. Like I said, he goes to the post, and a lot of great throws to Fred and Cliff, and even once in a while he threw it to me. And I could catch Kenny's balls, because he was a lefty, and those balls would dive away. Normally from a right-handed quarterback, they dive the opposite way. And but he had a lot of confidence in me as a player, and I remember in the huddle a lot of times, my nickname was Rooster, and he'd look down the huddle, all the way to the right side in the huddle. He said, Rooster, can you get this first down? I said, hell yeah, and he started laughing, and he was a cool customer, but damn, he could play when he had to.
We are talking right now to Pete Banaszak inside the game, one of the Oakland Raider greats, running back there for Oakland, who, as he's mentioned, 12 years of rooming with Ken Stabler there in training camp, and certainly we're trying to get some insight, and we're just trying to pay tribute. I mean, we feel like that, when you look at the University of Alabama, he will become the 8th member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The 3 quarterbacks, you've already mentioned one, Bart Starr, Joe Namath, and Kenny Stabler. That's not a bad crop of quarterbacks there when you talk about Stabler, Namath, and Bart Starr.
They don't get any better than that. I mean, I played against Joe in college and against you guys and with the Jets, and I always thought that he was probably one of the greatest players that ever played that position. And even in Bart Starr, Bart Starr didn't have the ability, but I tell you, he had what it took between the years, and he was a smart son of a gun, and he executed. And Kenny, like I said, was the greatest clutch player. I've never seen a guy that when you had to have it, and when things looked bleak, he'd kind of smile at you and wink. And son of a gun, if he didn't get the job done, he always did.
I can imagine what kind of confidence that was. Because the way that you players have talked about him all week it's been very similar. Talking about that confidence. I can only imagine if your quarterback got it, that just automatically gives it to the other players on that offensive side of the football.
Well, Kenny had football savvy. He was very, very, very smart on the field. A lot of the plays, he would check off. he would change the play at the line of scrimmage, and damn if we didn't, get a lot of big plays when he did that. And he knew defenses. He knew, from the 2-3 years of watching Darryl LaMonica and having Blanda alongside of him on the sideline. I mean, Kenny was a master. He knew how to pick you apart, and if he found a weakness, he'd make your nose bleed there. He really would. And you talk about trust and team unity. I mean, Kenny was the ringleader, and personally, you couldn't find a better friend. I mean, you could trust him with anything you told him. He would listen. And Kenny himself he was kind of a private person. He liked to have a good time, no question about it, in which we did. And, but he was a quiet person and cared about other players. I know, a lot of times he says, I saw you groan on that one hit. He says, are you all right? And all that and that. And I said, yeah, I'm fine. I'm ready. I can go. And he says, well, he says, we need you. You got to, and you would, if anything, you didn't want to let him down. I mean, it was better talking to Kenny than having John Madden, screaming in your ear, making some kind of alibi where you can't go, So, but I miss him dearly, and I think of him a lot, and it saddened me deeply when I found out that he had passed on.
Yeah, and speaking of that private side of Kenny Stabler, we have spoken to so many different people, including the university. He didn't let anybody know he was sick. I mean, he kept it private. I mean, and I certainly respect that. But it would have been nice that many of us would have had a chance to say goodbye.
Yeah, I look back and I wish he would have asked me to do a lot of things for him, but he never did. He was very private, and he, and you need people to lean on once in a while and listen to you, and I wanted badly to Kenny to do that, but instead I cried on his shoulder, But that was the kind of guy he was, and he was not only a great football player, but a great person.
Pete Banaszak right now inside the game. If I may ask, and I hope I'm not inappropriate by asking this, but when I was talking earlier this week to Kim, his longtime friend there, and I was talking to, and she said, you got to get Pete on the show to help him understand it. And she immediately, matter of fact, she didn't even call you Pete. She called you Rooster. And obviously that's your nickname. How did you get a name like Rooster? Where did that come from?
Well, my hair stuck out straight up on the back. I had a real strong colic on the back of my hair. I wish I had it now because I'm getting a little thin up there. I got a little beach erosion up there, but I had a haircut that my hair would stand straight up in the back, and they just started calling me Rooster, and so I was known as a Rooster. So, but Kenny and I, we had some great times. I mean, we were great friends on the field and great friends off the field. When it was time to play, we kind of played hard, and when it was time to play football, we played that hard too.
Yeah, I'm curious in preparations in the game plan, as far as when you were handed that on Wednesday and Thursday, as you look forward to the game, how much did Kenny have control over maybe adjusting some of those game plans that they try to install?
Well, you probably heard the old cliche of the Raiders that Kenny always read his game plan by the light of the jukebox. You probably heard that many times.
Sure.
But it was true. You can't hide talent. You know what I mean? And he had it, and he he knew the game. You know, he when he practiced, he was completely focused on practice. You know, and when you can do that and go through 2.5 hours in 90-degree heat and have men screaming in your ear in one ear and other assistant coaches screaming in your other ear, but he knew what to do. He was, like I said, very football savvy. Intelligent, smart, cagey, and you know, he used his assets that he had on the field. You know, he would ask us certain things. Can you get this done? Can you beat this guy here? He'd ask Blittenkoff and Branch, can you beat him to the inside or the outside, or what's best? You know, and he'd always remember on 4th down and 1 when he'd give me the ball, he'd say, "Rooster, don't fumble." You know, and I said, "What? Don't worry about that." You know, but he always, you know, he was like a coach on the field, but he was, and it was fun when we partied. You know, we were close to him because we were close on the field and close off the field. You know, when we went somewhere, we didn't go alone. We went with 5 or 6 of us. You know, there was a group of guys, a group of players, and we hung out together. We policed each other. You know, if somebody was getting maybe too rowdy and getting on a hand a little bit, we would just pick up our change on the bar and swig our beer down and grab the guy by the arm and say, "We're out of here." So we took care of each other, and because we cared for each other. And it was a family. And you know what? I'm going there tomorrow to what's left of that family, and there's still a few of us. I want to celebrate with the ones that are still living and the ones that are up in heaven looking down at us.
No doubt. Pete Banaszak right now. Final question. And I know there's so many stories, and I almost wish that I could be a fly on the wall and listen to you guys sit there and talk. I mean, what a dream that would be to listen to you guys honor somebody.
I can tell you some beauties, I tell you.
All right, so here it is, and obviously this is on radio here. So I'd like to maybe just get that best Kenny Stabler story. Maybe it's on the field, maybe it's off the field. Something that maybe you could share just to help us remember Kenny Stabler.
Yeah, I got one story to tell you that I can tell you. One time we were in training camp, and at that time you got to remember we were in training camp at least for almost 2 months, 7 to 8 weeks, sometimes 6 to 7 weeks, up in Santa Rosa, and we used to Kenny and Fred Blittenkoff and I. Used to have a suite where we in our hotel, and our hotel was a training camp in Santa Rosa called the El Rancho. And you still there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Oh, and what we did is one night Kenny wanted to go out after pit check, and I didn't really want to go. I was tired, and no, it was the other way around, I believe. Yeah, I went on. I wanted to go out, and Kenny stayed in, which was very rare. You know, he has to be tired if he turned turned that down. Anyway, so I came back, and 11 o'clock was bed check. In the back, we had 2 doors, one to the front side and one to the back. And in the back, it was kind of a motel. It was a long alley where we park our cars in the back of the room. So I used to come in every night our curfew was 11 o'clock. I'd come in around 5 to 11, and I'd kind of pick up a little speed in that alley. And a lot of guys used to park their cars back there. And I'd come buzzing down the alley a little bit once in a while too fast. And I would hit the brakes and squeal the tires. And they, you know, most of the guys say, "Well, Rooster's home. He made it. It's 5 to 11. Anyway, one day I came back and about 5 to 11, and I came down the alley real fast. I jammed on the brakes, and I squealed the tires on my car, and it was a rent-a-car, and it kind of fishtailed at me, and the rear end of the car hit Kenny's car, and he had I think it was his new, I don't know, Corvette or something. He had some hot car, and anyway, I kind of